Hey everyone, today we are in our audio unit and it is time to learn about a new piece of equipment today. Today we're going to be learning how to use the digital audio recorder, also called a DAR. The digital audio recorder is used in many productions in the real world. It's used in making movies, films, television production, and news production as well. So from small production videos all the way up to large-scale motion pictures, they would use digital audio recorders. So to record on a digital audio recorder, it's going to give you very high quality sounding audio, which will really help enhance your video. Now, before we start learning the steps of how to use a DAR, I want to talk to you a little bit about the orientation of a DAR. So if I take it out of its case, I just want to show you that it has a couple different parts. First, we have the microphones on top. We have a left and a right microphone, and this is where our voice is going to be recording as we speak into the DAR, or we record sound effects, whatever it might be. We're going to point our DAR in the direction that we want to pick up the audio. On the front of the DAR, you can see there is a screen. Once we power it on, we'll see different things pop up on the screen that we'll talk about as we go. We have some buttons and control panels down here. And then we also have different settings and controls on each side of the DAR. So as we go through these steps, I'm going to show you these different pieces and you guys are going to get to see how this works. As you watch this video today, you've been given a checklist by your instructor. It's important that you fill out the steps of this checklist as we go. I want you guys to keep up with this checklist throughout the year because you will be using DARs for your future video projects as well as your audio biography project, which we're going to start here very soon. And I'll talk to you more about that later. But keep up with this checklist because there are lots of settings and steps, and if you miss something, it can mess up your audio recording. So you want to make sure you're hitting everything exactly as you're supposed to. So let's jump in. So we're going to start with step number 1 for the DAR, and that is to turn it on. So if you take a look at the DAR, you're going to see this side panel. It's got a couple things here. First, it's got a headphone jack. This is where you'll plug your headphones in, which we'll get to in just a few minutes. The volume adjust, a USB plug, and then this power button. It says hold with power on the side. In order to turn your DAR on, you're going to hold this button down for about 2 seconds and then release. And you can see my screen has now started to power on. It might take a few minutes for your DAR to load, especially depending on if it's the first time you've ever put this type of SD card in the DAR. But the first thing we want to do is power the DAR on. Now, let's take a look while it's loading at the other side panel. On this side panel, you can see there's a scroll button at the top. We can scroll up and down and even click to select. This button really reminds me of like those old BlackBerry phones. If you ever had one with the scrolly bar, that's how that kind of works. We have a menu button, which you shouldn't need to use, a record level button, and then our spot for our SD card. For this project, your SD card will already be inside the DAR for you. However, if you ever need to put your own SD card in, this is the slot where you would do that on the side panel. So the first step on your checklist is to turn the DAR on. Step 2 is to put the SD card in the DAR. So we have successfully turned our DAR on. We can see now there are several elements on the screen. I want to talk to you a little bit about what we see on the screen before we move on to our step number 3. At the top of the screen, you'll see our time code. We learned about time code when we learned about basic editing techniques. We have hours, minutes, seconds, and here it's milliseconds instead of frames because we're talking about audio, not video. We see our little battery charge on the side where you know how much battery life you have left. We have a file name. That's the STE number right there. That's going to be important later. And then we have our left and right levels. Right now you see nothing is happening because my DAR is not yet doing anything, so it's not recording any levels. So let's go ahead and get started. If we are getting ready to record our DAR, first we turned it on. Second, we put the SD card in the DAR. The third step, if we are getting ready to record, is to click the mic button until it turns red. So what I mean by that is we have three inputs on the side of the DAR. We have the mic, MIC, input 1, and input 2. For this project and all projects in AVTF1, you will be using the internal microphone setting. That just means we're recording off of these microphones on the top. We're not going to plug in microphones onto the bottom. So make sure this mic button is selected, and you can see mine already is, but if the inputs 1 and 2 were selected, I would want to make sure I change that. Otherwise, anything I say into the speaker is not going to be recorded. So again, step 3, make sure that microphone button is red. The next step is going to be to plug in your headphones. Your headphone jack is located on the side, and like I said earlier, it is very important that you listen with your headphones as you are recording your audio. You want to make sure there's no weird noises in the background, that your voice level is okay, and nothing sounds funny as you're recording. So always listen as you record. Once you get your headphones in and you are ready to start recording, we're going to press the record button one time and watch what happens. I pressed the record button once and a couple things changed. My record button is now flashing red and my levels have started moving on the screen. So you can see the left and right levels are jumping with my voice as I begin to talk. However, a couple things didn't happen. The time code did not begin, and we see this little stop button flashing next to the time code. That's because I am not recording yet. It's important to know that once you press that record button once, it's not recording. This is an opportunity for you to test your audio signal. You want to make sure your levels sound good as you're listening in your headphones and you're watching on the screen. You want your levels to hit between -12 and -24. If your levels are hitting here, then you should be good to go. Once you're ready to record, the next step is to press the record button again. So we pressed the record button once, then we tested our audio signal. Now we have pressed the record button again. It's no longer flashing, and you can see my time code is now recording. I've been going for 15 seconds now. So as the audio levels jump, you can see it is actually recording my voice at this time. When we are recording our audio, it's important that you keep it at an appropriate distance from you. So I'm going to come back over here so you guys can see as I'm recording, it's important that we keep this microphone an appropriate distance from our mouth. I don't want to hold it really far away or even really close because then it's not going to sound great on camera. You want to avoid the popping of the P's like we learned about with pop filters, and just make sure that in general your audio sounds good. So you should be listening with your headphones as you record and put it at a place that's comfortable and that sounds appropriate. After we have finished pressing or recording our audio, it's now time to stop our recording. So, taking a look back at the screen, we are going to press the stop button. We have stop, play, pause, rewind, and fast forward. Once I have stopped recording, you can see that the signal has stopped, the time code has stopped, and everything has finished out with our recording. So our next step, and this is the most important step, is to write down our STE file number. On a sheet of paper, whether that's your pre-production or if you type it into your phone, you've got to remember this number. So mine is STE-137. I have to know that number because that's the file recording for my video, or for my audio, excuse me. After I've written down the STE number, I am finished using my DAR for now, and I can power it off. So on the side panel, I am going to hold down for a couple seconds that power button, and it will power off, as you can see it did right here. Okay, so we just finished recording on the DAR and we have powered it down. Now it's time to get those clips from the DAR onto our computer. So the next step in this process is to grab the gray cord out of the gray cabinet. The gray cord looks like this one that you see right here, and it's located in the gray cabinet in the front of the AVTF1 classroom. Once you grab this gray cord, this is how you're going to connect your DAR to your computer. So Once again, it's important that your DAR is powered down when you do this. First, let's plug the cord into the DAR. I'm going to take the small end of the cord and I'm going to turn the DAR over onto the side panel. Where it says USB, I'll take the cord and plug it in to the DAR. Now,